Hey guys, it's Leia. So today I will be doing my October wrap-up. In October I read a total of 4 books and 2 graphic novels. The first thing that I read was Wait Till Helen Comes by Mary Downing Hahn, and I read this because this was my friend's favorite Halloween book as a kid, and so I decided to give it a shot. I was in the mood for a ghost story, but unfortunately this was a little underwhelming. The ghost story was a bit generic. The characters weren't anything special to me. I give it like a 2.75. This was a little kind of sort of boring reading it as an adult, but you know, I could see why my friend really enjoyed this as a kid. Next, I read Alive by Scott Sigler, and I really loved it. This has to be my favorite book that I read this month. It was so entertaining. I'm not gonna lie though, in the first, I want to say half or maybe even the first 3/4 of the book, I was kind of bored with it because the story seems really familiar. A bunch of kids not knowing who they are, stuck in like a facility that they're unfamiliar with. So I was like, okay, I've kind of heard this story before, but the ending was totally unexpected. There was a twist to the book, and then there was a twist on the twist, and my mind was just blown, and I freaking loved this book. I don't want to give too much away because the author kindly asks for no spoilers, so the only thing you really have to know is that it is about a girl who wakes up in a coffin in a room full of coffins with no memory of who she is, and that's pretty much all you gotta know. Loved it. I cannot wait for the next one. Next thing I finished was Intensity by Dean Koontz, and I was really looking forward to reading a book by Dean Koontz because, I mean, he has like a ton of books out. This book follows our main character China, and she is over at a friend's house for a long weekend, and all of a sudden, while everyone is sleeping, this serial killer breaks into the house and does what serial killers do, and China is left with the decision whether she should run away or try to save the family. And it's really entertaining, and it's a cat and mouse chase. It was fun to read, but the problem I had with this book is so much of the story was flashbacks. You spent a lot of time in the characters' heads, which, you know, I'm fine with, but it was a bit excessive for my taste. And I mean, I'm sure some people would enjoy that, but I personally did not. So I would have enjoyed more action as opposed to reading about what the characters were thinking. But overall, I mean, it was entertaining, but I just thought it was okay. So I think I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up is a book that I'm sure a bunch of you guys have heard about, and that is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I was really looking forward to reading this book. I've been saving this book for October. I wanted to read it during the Halloween time. This book, I feel like how it's packaged, how it's marketed. I mean, there's a bunch of creepy pictures like in the book, and you know, they're creepy looking, and if you're gonna give me creepy pictures, I expect a somewhat creepy story or a creepy tone, you know, a little dark, and it wasn't really that. It was more of like a story of a boy finding children who have peculiar powers, and they weren't really creepy. There was nothing really dark, I feel, about the story. The illustrations were cool, but I didn't think they were really necessary. In fact, I feel like a few of the illustrations were a bit misleading because you have this kind of menacing and creepy looking picture of one of the children, and then the description of the child would be that they were really happy and kind of almost bubbly, and I was like, okay, that doesn't really go with the picture, but alright. And that happened a few times in the book, and the main character was okay. I mean, he felt pretty generic, and I was disappointed. I mean, I'm still really intrigued by the premise and the world, where I think I might read the second book. It started out really well, you know, the mystery and the suspense, and then when everything was revealed, it was just underwhelming, and it just stayed underwhelming until the end of the book. So I was hoping I would like this a lot more, but I'm still willing to give this series a shot. The last two things that I read in October were graphic novels, and the first one is Rat Queens by a bunch of people that I will list somewhere in this video. And yeah, this is the second volume, and I thought this one was so freaking funny. I thought the first one was funny, but this one was just hilarious. I was cracking up, and you get to learn a little bit more about the characters in this volume, so I really enjoyed that. And obviously I'm not gonna say anything about the plot for the second volume because it's a second volume, so go check out the first one. It's really funny. It's kind of like a group of women who fight monsters. It kind of has that Dungeons and Dragons feel, and I really like it. And the last thing I read was Outcast by Robert Kirkman and Paul Azaceta. It follows a man named Kyle Barnes, and he has been suffering with demonic possession, and people around him have been possessed, and his life has just been crap ever since all of this has happened. And I was really intrigued by that because I've never read a graphic novel that involved demonic possession, and it just seemed like a really interesting read, but unfortunately nothing really happens in this volume. I mean, I guess they're trying to kind of set the mood, but it got a little repetitive, and you don't really find out much about our main character, and you don't really know what's going on. I'm still willing to read the next volume, but yeah, this one was just kind of boring. Alright, that was everything that I read in the month of October. I was pretty underwhelmed this month as far as reading goes. Yeah, I mean, what can you do? But hopefully the month of November will be better in terms of reading. And yeah, that is it for my video today. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!